Notacon. Welcome to the presentation on community radio, which is a look at the legal way that you can do community radio and have your own radio station, get involved in radio, be on the air without breaking FCC rules, hopefully.
Hopefully.
My name's Micah. I was general manager of WREW-FM here in Cleveland, 91.1. On the left hand of the dial for the 2003-2004 school year, essentially.
And I'm Jim Eastman. I'm the current general manager at WREW.
WREW, if you aren't aware of it, was founded in 1946, 47, had different call letters then.
WRAR.
At 10 watts?
Yes, 10 watt AM carrier current station.
And so now we're broadcasting 15,000 watts. We have a ridiculously large music collection. We're on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're also broadcast live on the web and have over 100 people on staff, I think.
About 110 or so, I think.
But anyhow, in doing this, we've managed to collect a bunch of information that we figured we'd share on where community radio is now and what the opportunities people have to get involved in community radio. I don't know what you're doing.
There we go. Going to the next slide.
Excellent.
Yeah, what we're talking about today, just real quick overview, is we're going to be chatting about what is community radio, what makes it important, why is it valuable to the community as a whole, things like that. We're going to go into existing community radio, their structure, their operation, how individuals can get involved in existing community radio outlets. And then the bulk of the presentation will be the process and the important details of actually starting a new community radio station.
Very powerful. So, if you weren't aware of it already, community radio has a lot of benefits that you don't get in commercial radio. We hit a couple key points here. WREW right now has 3 ska shows, I think, and there's none on commercial radio. At the same time, we go all the way from ska to metal to show tunes on Sunday afternoon.
Folk and bluegrass and usual indie rock for a college station, all that fun stuff.
Didn't used to be usual, but
that's true.
Oh yeah, strange experimentalism. I think we might still have a guy who does some spoken word. I did an opera show for a little while. That was a bad idea, but we had to try. And so you get a diversity that you don't find many other places on the dial, both in terms of what type of music is played, but also just the artists that are played. WREW right now, I think we have 70,000 CDs.
We have about 60,000 CDs, ballpark, and about 100,000 pieces of vinyl in our music library. So it's quite a range to choose from. Then a lot of our programmers also bring down their own music collections, and some of these folks are pretty hardcore collectors.
And so just the diversity that we can put on from that side of things is also pretty impressive.
In terms of localism, of course, everything's locally produced. Even our public affairs programming is locally produced. We have guys, you wander around Cleveland with recording devices, try to get some cool stuff said by local important people and things of that nature.
I guess we should also mention that we do a radio show together on Saturday mornings from 11:30 to noon called Saturday Science that deals exactly with this.
We cover specifically the intersection really of politics, science, technology, and community daily life kind of stuff.
Also localism from the point of view of local bands, getting bands coverage, airtime, bringing them down to the station, putting them live on air, covering local events live. We throw a huge concert at the end of every summer called Studio A-Rama that generally features primarily local bands and then a regional headliner of some type. Community radio also presents a lot of opportunities for people who are interested in radio but aren't interested in becoming a professional DJ. I have no desire and do not view my involvement in community radio at all as a gateway into professional radio, which some college stations are, I'll point out. A lot of college stations do have, you know, push lists, like this is what you have to play this song during your show, or very regimented.
Very regimented. There are a number of colleges that have a pretty professional oriented radio program. So the radio station is pretty much part of an academic department as opposed to a student activity.
Oh yeah, feel free to interrupt us at any time, by the way. We'll just keep talking otherwise.
Now you know how much fun that is.
So there are basically two major areas where radio stations are based out of. They're either based in a college and are part of the college and campus environment, and maybe they'll accept community members, sort of the way WRUW does, or they're more of a community station. They're public radio stations that aren't necessarily an NPR affiliate that carries local programming or does their own thing.
Generally owned by like a non-profit organization formed specifically for the purpose of the radio station. Things of that nature.
And they each sort of have their own focus, I'd say. College stations generally follow whatever structure is in place at the college, gets funding from student organizations, might be forced to cover college sporting events, things like that. Colleges exert more or less control over them, and or limit more and less community involvement and alumni involvement. WRUW sort of, I think, is a bit of a hybrid and is actually more of a community radio station than a college radio station, simply because we get money from the university, but our operations tend to be fairly independent of the university. Community radio, there's like Portland Public Radio, I believe.
There's Portland, there's a couple other spots, and with the growth of LPFM over the past 5 years, a number of sort of community-based low-power stations have sprung up in certain key areas. Pennsylvania, I believe, Maryland, Michigan.
Anyone here from New York State area or New York City area, vaguely? No? Oh, if you're in the area, you're too far that way on the map. Okay, well, listen to 91.1 in that area. That's WFMU, which is often brought up as the model of sort of a community radio station. They play ridiculous eclectic music. There's one show where the guy only plays recordings that he's found at garage sales. Like, he'll pick up someone's old family tapes, and you get very bizarre, but also very interesting. And it's the type of thing that you can't do on commercial radio. They're 100% listener supported. They may receive a couple grants, I'm not positive. But
I think they do, actually, yeah. But it's the key difference here between community radio and commercial radio is that while community radio does have to exist with a bottom line, the bottom line isn't driving the programming. It's not sales-oriented. It's not...
If anyone thinks that payola is gone, you're sadly mistaken.
Still very, very much exists.
The new game, if no one's followed it, payola was the policy of, you know, a music distributor could pay a radio station to have the song played more. Well, the new game is just buy ad time and have it played that way, and you're required to put a little mini announcement, but it sounds just like you're announcing the song to most people, so you can still pay radio stations to have your song played if you really want to.
It's an interesting little scam that will pretty much keep going no matter what they try to do to get rid of it.
But anyhow, so they all have different structures. WRUW, the internal structure is there's an executive staff, which is a mix of students and community members. Community members I'm basically defining as older people, a lot of alumni, but also a lot of people who just came and got involved in the radio station independent of having any university affiliation.
It's basically a catch-all category for people who are not currently students at the university but are still involved with the radio station there.
And so we have the executive staff, and then there are programmers. Anyone who is interested in getting involved, there's a training program that people get sent through, but once you're done with that, WRW considers you to be a full programmer. Most other radio stations have a similar type of policy in place, more or less depending on how they feel they have availability for time slots. WRAWR policy is take everyone, worry about scheduling later, mostly.
Yeah, we basically do a schedule on a semester-by-semester basis, and our format is really everyone who's on staff is qualified to apply for a show, and then we review that. Some stations have a more rigid format where they are looking for people to fill specific slots, specific formats, things of that nature.
But in general, that's the sort of avenue for community radio, is there some type of organizational meeting of some level, and then some type of random training generally. Key thing is making sure everyone knows what the FCC policies are and what will get you fined, because the radio station isn't the only one at risk. Individual programmers can get FCC fines as well for breaking rules.
And in a lot of situations, the FCC will actually issue the fine both to the on-air DJ and to the radio station. And a lot of these radio stations have a policy where if the radio station gets a fine for something you did, you have to pay for it.
So that's basically what training to be on the radio is. Linda, go.
No.
No. Thank God. Okay.
Most FCC fines are at least a couple $1,000s.
And they've been going up, depending on what the fine is, particularly if you break...
Indecency seems to be the hot button issue of the day. Those fines are... The maximum fine is basically being lifted up to about $300,000 per infraction, and a cap of $3 million in the total fine per day.
The FCC, I'm sorry, these acronyms. FCC is actually fairly reasonable about good faith efforts when it comes to fines also.
The U.S. Congress, on the other hand, not so much.
So when it comes to things like, and I guess we'll chat about it now because I don't remember what the rest of the presentation looks like at all anymore. We'll talk about that later. There's a lot of paperwork involved in community radio and radio in general. There are transmitter logs. There are you have to get all of your equipment certified and verify it on a regular basis. Oh goodness gracious! I just went through.
There's program logs. There's EAS logs, the emergency alert system. You have to log the tests that you do for that.
Issues logs when it comes to political programming or political affairs programming. You need to say what you've talked about sometimes, because if there's a political race and you talk to one candidate and not the other, or didn't give the other candidate a chance, technically you're in violation. It's
a very shady area that is not really well defined, but
and
they enforce anyways.
Also, I'd say it's not.
It depends how big you are, really. If you draw attention to yourself about breaking the rules, they'll enforce it. Otherwise, they probably won't follow up.
The big thing with the FCC in general, when it comes to things that they're not going to get complaints about, right? Indecency things, they'll get, people will send in letters. Let me just quickly finish my statement and then I'll get to you. Send in letters, but everything else is generally self-enforcement. WRAW just recently went through a recertification program. The piece of paper that I signed and sent to the FCC was a lot of checkboxes that we ran down, checked yes on, and I signed. Now, to be fair, we did check and make sure everything that I checked yes on was legitimate. But things like, do you have a public inspection file? Is your public inspection file up to date? And so the burden of making sure all that is in place is on the radio station, not on, sending them in lots of documents and paperwork and stuff.
I mean, these things can and will be checked by random inspections and inspections prompted by complaints. So naturally, it's in your best interest to keep these sort of things up to date. But unless there's a specific problem that's raised, it probably won't be checked up on.
Okay, if you give time to someone running for elected office, technically you're supposed to notify other people running for the same office that this has happened and give them
the opportunity to respond, basically.
Yeah. It's purely an election issue.
It is. It used to be, there used to be an FCC rule for the equal time on issues, and